Welcome to Immigration Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: rejecting the Rwanda deal would imperil the House of Lords. Low-paid migration is a subsidy costing the whole country dear. Joe Biden says he would shut Mexican border right now if Congress agrees. New Year celebration planned at Plantation Village. China, Thailand sign deal for permanent mutual, visa-free entry from March 1. Rejecting the Rwanda deal would imperil the House of Lords. Telegraph. The UK government's proposed legislation to allow the deportation of cross-channel migrants to Rwanda is facing potential defeat in the House of Lords. Peers showed their opposition by voting last week to delay the ratification of the treaty underpinning the Safety of Rwanda bill. If the government loses the measure at second reading in the upper house, it would effectively kill off the legislation. The House of Lords has never before blocked a major piece of legislation in this way, but the issue has raised strong passions and nothing can be ruled out. Peers are particularly concerned about giving ministers powers to ignore interim rulings from the European Court of Human Rights. The Attorney General has also been unable to declare the bill compatible with the Convention, while the measure seeks to declare Rwanda a safe country in defiance of a Supreme Court ruling to the contrary. Low-paid migration is a subsidy costing the whole country dear. Telegraph. The UK government's reliance on low-paid immigrants is a hidden subsidy that will prove costly for taxpayers in the long term, according to David Goodhart, author of Head, Hand, Heart, The Struggle for Dignity and Status in the 21st Century. The state's failure to conduct research on the fiscal impact of different migrant profiles was inconvenient, but crucial, Goodhart said, adding that the government should train and pay British workers instead of relying on cheap foreign labor. Over the long term, low-paid immigrants and their dependents will be net recipients of public funds, he said. Joe Biden says he would shut Mexican border right now if Congress agrees. Telegraph. President Joe Biden has said that he would close the U.S.-Mexico border right now if Congress passes a sweeping immigration bill. Under his plans, the border would be closed if illegal crossings surpassed 4,000 in a day, and it would be ordered to close if the figure exceeds 5,000. Only legal ports of entry would remain open. The surge in illegal migrants crossing the border has become a key issue in the presidential election. Border officials said that a record 302,034 migrants tried to cross the border last month. New Year celebration planned at Plantation Village. Yahoo! Hawaii's Plantation Village in Waipahu will be hosting a New Year's celebration this Saturday, offering Japanese good luck charms, cultural entertainment, ethnic foods, and more. The outdoor museum, which depicts life on Hawaii's sugar plantations, will have all the plantation buildings open to the public, with free ethnic food sampling at most of the houses. There will also be hula and taiko drum performances, crafts, genealogy information booths, and old-fashioned plantation games. The event will take place from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at 94 to 695 Waipahu Street. Admission is free and parking is available on site and at Waipahu Elementary School. China, Thailand sign deal for permanent mutual, visa-free entry from March 1. South China Morning Post. China and Thailand have agreed to a permanent visa-free travel deal, which will allow citizens of either country to stay for up to 30 days without a visa. The agreement is part of a wider effort by Thailand to revive its tourism industry, which was hit hard by the pandemic. The country is hoping to attract 8 million Chinese tourists this year, almost 3 times the number it received in 2020. China has signed similar visa-free deals with Malaysia and Singapore in recent months. House Republicans release articles of impeachment against Mayorkas. Yahoo! House Republicans have accused Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas of willful and systemic refusal to comply with the law and a breach of public trust in relation to the handling of the U.S.-Mexico border. The Department of Homeland Security has criticized the charges as a baseless political attack, stating that it is a distraction from other vital national security priorities. It is highly unlikely that Mayorkas would be convicted in a Senate trial, as it would require a 2/3 majority vote. If impeached, Mayorkas would be the first cabinet official to be impeached since 1876. From Diamond to Arnault, the heirs are becoming apparent. Bloomberg. J.P. Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon is facing increasing pressure to name his successor. Dimon, 65, is one of the last remaining CEOs from the 2008 financial crisis, and has not named a successor. The bank's Investor Day on the 22nd of February is an opportunity to discuss the issue with investors. The current frontrunners are Marianne Lake, the bank's CFO and CEO of consumer lending Jennifer Piepszak. In addition, Troy Rohrbaugh, head of J.P. Morgan's trading and sales business, has been named as a potential candidate. International students have mixed feelings about visa cap, say system needs review. The Toronto Star. The Canadian government has announced it will cap the number of study permits for international undergraduate students for the next 2 years, in an attempt to address the issues associated with the international student program, such as housing shortages and difficulties finding jobs. The move comes as the number of foreign students with visas to study in Canada has more than tripled in the past decade. However, the decision has been met with dismay by some international students, who argue that the program needs to be reviewed rather than capped. Legislature looks to kids to ease labor shortage. Yahoo! Florida is experiencing a labor shortage, with businesses and industries such as hospitality, landscaping, and construction struggling to find enough workers. The state's labor shortage is being exacerbated by SB 1718, a law enacted in July 2017 that makes employers think twice before hiring immigrants. The state legislature has responded to the shortage by rolling back child labor laws, allowing 16 to 17-year-olds to work long hours. However, this is unlikely to solve the problem, and education should remain a top priority for young people, the article argues. Japan preparing to add transport roles to skilled visa amid shortages. Japan Times. Japan is considering adding 4 sectors, including transportation, to its foreign blue-collar skilled worker visa. This move aims to address concerns about driver shortages in the country. The expansion would bring the total number of eligible industries under the visa to 16. The decision is expected to be made within the current fiscal year, which ends on March 31. Ontario is proposing rules to help newcomer job seekers. Nova Scotia is watching. CBC. Ontario is introducing legislation banning the requirement of Canadian work experience in job postings and application forms in an effort to help immigrants find work in their fields. The proposed legislation would ensure that prospective employees with the necessary skills and abilities are not screened out during the initial stage of hiring. Ontario is the first province to introduce such legislation, and it may serve as a template for other provinces to follow. The move is aimed at addressing the issue of immigrants struggling to find work due to a lack of Canadian work experience, which is often a proxy for racism and xenophobia. More Chinese expected to travel abroad for Lunar New Year. South China Morning Post. More Chinese travelers are expected to go abroad during the Lunar New Year holiday, but the numbers will still be below pre-pandemic levels due to a weaker economy and changing consumer preferences, analysts say. Official figures show significant growth in passenger traffic during this year's travel period, but outbound flight capacity is expected to be 30% below 2019 levels in Q1 2022. Demand for international travel is also expected to rise following visa-free agreements with several countries, including Thailand, Malaysia, and Singapore. China sees big increase in arrivals to Thailand on visa rules. Bloomberg. Thailand and China have signed an agreement to waive visa requirements for travelers between the two countries, allowing tourists to stay visa-free for up to 30 days per entry. This move is expected to significantly increase the number of Chinese visitors to Thailand, which were the country's largest group of tourists before the pandemic. Chinese tourists accounted for over 25% of foreign visitors in 2019 but dropped to around 12.5% in 2020. The Thai government aims to attract 8 million tourists from China this year as part of its target of 35 million foreign arrivals. China is Thailand's largest trading partner and biggest source of foreign investment. The two countries also plan to strengthen cooperation in transportation and trade. Thailand, China sign mutual visa waiver agreements. Nikkei Asia. Thailand and China have agreed to waive visa requirements for each other's nationals in order to promote travel and tourism between the two countries. The agreement was signed during a visit by the Chinese foreign minister to Thailand and will take effect on March 1. Trump praises Texas governor as border state clashes with Biden administration over immigration. Associated Press. Former President Donald Trump has expressed his support for Texas Governor Greg Abbott's decision not to allow the Biden administration to remove razor wire from a popular corridor for migrants illegally entering the U.S. Trump gave a speech in Las Vegas, focusing on border security and saying that Texas should be fully supported in its measures to deter migrants. The former president also criticized the Biden administration for its handling of the border crisis and accused them of weaponizing law enforcement against him. That's all for today's news roundup. Let's recap what we've learned. The UK government's proposed legislation to allow the deportation of cross-channel migrants to Rwanda is facing potential defeat in the House of Lords, which could imperil the House of Lords itself. David Goodhart argues that the UK government's reliance on low-paid immigrants is a hidden subsidy that will prove costly for taxpayers in the long term. President Joe Biden has stated that he would shut the US-Mexico border right now if Congress passes a sweeping immigration bill. Hawaii's Plantation Village will be hosting a New Year's celebration, offering Japanese good luck charms, cultural entertainment, ethnic foods, and more. China and Thailand have agreed to a permanent visa-free travel deal, aiming to revive Thailand's tourism industry. House Republicans have released articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, accusing him of a breach of public trust in relation to the handling of the U.S.-Mexico border. J.P. Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon is under pressure to name his successor. The Canadian government has announced a cap on study permits for international undergraduate students. Florida is experiencing a labor shortage and has rolled back child labor laws to address the issue. Japan is considering adding transportation to its foreign blue-collar skilled worker visa to address driver shortages. Ontario is proposing legislation to ban the requirement of Canadian work experience in job postings and application forms to help immigrants find work in their fields. Chinese travelers are expected to go abroad during the Lunar New Year holiday, but the numbers will still be below pre-pandemic levels. Thailand and China have signed agreements to waive visa requirements for travelers between the two countries, aiming to increase Chinese visitors to Thailand and promote travel and tourism. Former President Donald Trump has expressed support for Texas Governor Greg Abbott's decision regarding border security. Now, let's dive into some analysis. It seems that immigration is a hot topic globally, with debates and challenges arising in various countries. The UK government's proposed legislation on deportation to Rwanda is facing opposition due to concerns about human rights and the power given to ministers. This issue has the potential to reshape the House of Lords' role in blocking major legislation. In the US, President Biden's stance on the border and immigration is being closely watched, with his remarks about potentially closing the US-Mexico border sparking controversy. Meanwhile, in Canada, the decision to cap study permits for international students has sparked mixed feelings among the student community, highlighting the need for a review of the program. These instances reflect the complex and multifaceted nature of immigration policies and the challenges they pose for countries worldwide. On a lighter note, Hawaii's Plantation Village will be hosting a New Year's celebration, offering a glimpse into the rich cultural heritage of the state. This event serves as a reminder of the importance of celebrating diversity and preserving traditions. As always, I welcome your thoughts and questions. What are your ideas on the proposed legislation in the UK and the potential defeat in the House of Lords? Do you agree with David Goodhart's argument on low-paid migration? How do you feel about President Biden's stance on the US-Mexico border? And what are your thoughts on the various visa agreements and immigration policies discussed today? Let's keep the conversation going. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.